हम सीखेंगे कि जहाज़ का वज़न जो है वो कैसे बैलेंस होता है। तफसील से जहाज़ पे पैसेंजर और फ्यूल और वज़न बैगेज का डाल के अंदाज़ा हो जाता है कि जहाज़ जो है इक्विलिब्रियम कैसे हो जाता है, ये बराबर। इस टिप को हमने इसी साइड लेवल पे समझा है और जैसे आप वज़न इसके ऊपर रखेंगे नीचे की तरफ जाएंगे तो आप देख रहे होंगे कि ये सारी चीज़ें वो नीचे आ जाएगा। उसके बाद अपने किसी फ्रेंड को उसके ऊपर बिठा दें तो फिर आगे इसको बैलेंस करके इसी साइड भी जाना है तो आपको थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ के करना पड़ता है। अब जब आप आगे बढ़ जाते हैं तो आपने अपना प्रेशर को, हम इस पे सेंट्रल प्रेशर की बात कर रहे हैं। आप देखें एक सेंटर में आपने एक चीज़ पिवट की है, उसके ऊपर स्केल डाला है और ये सारी चीज़ें सेंट्रल प्रेशर पे है। और जहाज़ का फ्यूज़लाज देखें आप, वो सेंटर से साइड पे हट के वहाँ पे फ्यूज़लाज दिखाया गया है और सी लेवल के ऊपर। तो इस तरीके से ही आपका बैलेंस जो है वो आगे पीछे होता रहता है। इसके साथ एक हमने रेड लाइन लगा कर हमने आपको दिखाया कि इंजन कंपार्टमेंट हमने अलग कर दिया है कैबिन कंपार्टमेंट से। और ये डेंटम पॉइंट, ये मैन्युफैक्चरर है ना वोल्ट पे, तो वो चीज़ जो नेगेटिव साइड पे जाती है नोज पॉइंट कहलाती है डेंटम की रेड लाइन वाली साइड, और राइट साइड पे जो है वो पॉजिटिव पॉइंट कहलाती है जो कैबिन साइड के ऊपर है। और इस तरीके से वजन,
Let's say we have a heavy engine sitting out front there, and that engine weighs about 300 pounds, and it's 12 inches in front of the firewall, in front of our datum point. So that's going to be 300 pounds times minus 12 will give us the moment. The weight times the arm equals the moment. Then we can go ahead and say we have a pilot, and he weighs about 100 pounds, and he's sitting 36 inches behind the datum point on the positive side. So it's 100 pounds times 36 inches equals the moment. And you can see that these two moments both cancel out. 3,600 from the engine and 3,600 from the pilot. One's negative, one's positive. It equals 0. The aircraft's within balance, and the center of gravity would be 0 inches from the datum point. Now let's take another example here and say we have that same 300-pound engine, but we have two pilots this time, and they're each 100 pounds. So now we have 200 pounds for our pilots. So 200 pounds times 36 would give us 7,200 inch-pounds, and you can see that leaves us, when we add all this up, with positive 3,600 inch-pounds. We then divide our moment by our total weight, and we get 7.2, and that 7.2 number means that the center of gravity is 7.2 inches aft of the datum point, on the positive side of the datum point, so bringing the center of gravity closer towards the wings. Now, why is this important? Well, the center of gravity is the point on the aircraft that if you were to pick up the airplane with your fingertip, it would balance about that point. So it makes sense that we're trying to make the aircraft balance somewhere in the neighborhood of the wings, since the air is basically acting as your fingertip, holding up the aircraft about the wings as it's flying through the air. And we'll want to have that CG somewhere in front of the center of pressure, or slightly in front of the center of the wings. So that's enough theory for one video. Let's go ahead and jump into doing an actual loading problem for a regular old Cessna 172 here. And so we're going to use this loading chart. We can see a sample problem already filled out for us. And we're going to do this two different ways. The first way is going to be using a loading graph that gives us our moments, that it's already computed the arm values for us. And then the second way is a little bit more math, but I tend to like it better because you get to see exactly how you're finding those moment numbers, and it kind of spells it all out. So we'll look at it in two different ways. First way, using our loading graph with the moments. Second way, doing a little bit more multiplication and doing it longhand so we can see it ourselves. So for this method of using the loading graph, we're simply going to find our weight. Say, for example, the weight of our pilot and front passenger, 340 pounds. Find that line that says pilot and front passenger. Follow that line up to 340, and then draw a straight line down from that 340 mark, and we get our load moment over 1,000 pounds inches, or 1,000 inch pounds, however you want to say it. Basically, that's giving you an abbreviated moment, and so that's where they get their 12.6 from. Now, for fuel, same thing, 210 pounds of fuel on up the line, draw a line down, and you get 10.1. So you can see how this method works, and at the end of it, all you have to do is then come over here to your moment envelope, and you can simply plot the total moment and your total weight and find out whether or not you're within the envelope. Now, if you're wondering about this whole normal category versus utility category in the graph, what that's ultimately telling you is that if you want to operate your aircraft within the utility category, where it's approved for possibly some more maneuvers and a higher load factor, higher G loading, then you're going to have to be below a certain weight and within a certain CG limit, more so than if you were in the normal category. So say if you're going out to maybe do spins and the aircraft was approved for that in the utility category, but not approved to do spins in the normal category, then you would have to be at a lower weight and also within this CG limitation. So now we can go ahead and use our loading arrangements page to do it the harder way, basically where we're going to multiply the weight times the arm to find our moment and then go ahead and divide all that. So slightly more math. I actually prefer this way. I don't think it's harder. I think I get to see all of the math myself and I make sure I'm getting the exact numbers. So we can see here they give us a range for the pilot and front passenger, 34 to 46. We're going to use the average, which is 37. Rear passengers, they give us the number 73. So these are all pre-measured distances. We don't actually have to go out to the aircraft with a tape measure and measure from the firewall or from the datum point back to the station where we're putting the weight. Now note, obviously passengers can lean forward and backwards, pilot and passenger seats can move forward and backwards. These are rough estimates. These are not perfect numbers, and that's why it's so important to be within the envelope when you're operating the aircraft, not already pushing the envelope when you have not vague numbers, but it's not perfect numbers either. So now we're going to go ahead and make our little handwritten chart here with our weight, our arm, and then that'll equal our moment. And so we can start with pilot and front passenger. We're going to use 150 pounds for our pilot, 150 pounds for our passenger. Going to multiply that by 37 to get our moment. Then we can do the same for our rear passengers. We'll say we just have one person flying with us and keep it simple. They're 180 pounds. And so we're going to multiply that by 73. We could go ahead and plug in our known empty weight as well and the known arm for the empty weight. And we'll find that in the POH or AFM. It gets changed from time to time and updated in the aircraft maintenance logs. And we'll calculate that out to be 62,600 inch-pounds for our moment. We also need some fuel to make the engine run, and we'll just say we have, say, 20 gallons of fuel on board. That gives us 120 pounds times our arm gives us our moment. We'll add up our moments, we'll add up our total weights, we'll divide the total moment by the total weight, and that gives us our CG number. So we'll go ahead and draw a horizontal line over from our total weight. We'll draw a vertical line up from our CG location. And where those two lines intersect is where we are located on our CG loading envelope. And we can see that we're slightly outside of the utility category, but we're well within the normal category. So we're safe to go fly. We're under our maximum takeoff weight. We're in between our CG maximum forward or aft location. We can't do those maneuvers that are restricted only to utility category operations because we don't qualify for that today with our current loading. But we can do everything that we want to do in the normal category. That applies to our aircraft. So we'll have good pitch authority up and down, we'll have good aircraft performance because we're under our maximum takeoff weight, and we're good to go fly. We've seen it two different ways here. Either way works. You're going to get the same answer, the same yay or nay answer as to whether or not you can go fly the airplane at that weight with that CG loading. If any of this doesn't